Hi, I'm Will Becton.
And I'm Amber Becton.
We're sitting down and facing front.
We are very happy to share episode 3 of Jett Road Studios Presents, where each episode is a pilot for a different show.
That's right. This episode is a pilot for a show called Pilot Lounge with Madeleine Smithberg. Madeleine is best known as the co-creator of The Daily Show, and she ran that show for the first 7 years of its existence.
Madeleine is also a dear friend, and we're really proud to have her here.
Yeah, Pilot Lounge is an idea she came up with. Madeleine's made a lot of pilots over the years. She's got a lot of great stories and a lot of great insights because it's a pretty specific way to try to make your fortune.
Exactly. In the first episode, Madeleine talks to the very funny Marc Evan Jackson, who has acted on shows like The Good Place and Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes, very funny Marc Evan Jackson, and he's actually a Detroit guy.
Oh, cool.
The second city in Detroit. Madeleine made 2 pilots with Marc, None of Your Business and Little America.
Madeleine also talked to Lauren Weedman about the pilot they made for The Fifth Hour. Lauren has acted in shows like Hacks, Euphoria, and Abbott Elementary. And I'm so happy she was here too.
Yeah, you guys had a fun interaction on the
front porch,
back
lanai.
porch. Yeah,
we had both. We had both.
Oh, it was a sprawling conversation.
She thought that she had the wrong time, and so she was a little bit later.
Yeah.
And so I saw this woman kind of standing in our front yard, and I opened the door and I said, "Hi, are you Lauren?" She's like, "Yes, I'm in the right place." And then it was one of those situations where we had probably 10 minutes to talk. And,
wow.
And we went real deep, really fast.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, we're just talking about this and that's okay, right? Like, it's okay.
She's an open book. Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad that you and Lauren got a chance to interact because I could see that being a mutual admiration society.
I've heard about her for so long and I was really excited to get to meet her.
Yeah. 2 really funny guests, great stories, and Madeleine very much in her element in the hosting chair.
Ugh. Take it away, Mad.
Jett Road Studios presents
Pilot Lounge.
Hi, and welcome to Pilot Lounge. Is it Pilot Lounge or The Pilot Lounge? I think we can decide because it's a pilot and we can change it when we go to series. But I wanted to do a pilot about my failed pilots. I'm Madeleine Smithberg, and my claim to fame, I've got a couple. I can do the splits. I have astoundingly soft skin, or so I've been told. Speak Italian almost fluently.
Molto bene.
And I co-created The Daily Show with Lizz Winstead and ran it for its first 7 years, hired Stephen Colbert, Steve Carell, Rob Corddry, Ed Helms. Anyway, that's all that stuff. Then I moved to LA and everything was going great until it wasn't. And I hit a part of my career, which looking back at, which is what we're doing right now, was actually incredibly entertaining. We had the honor of working with all these amazingly talented people on absolutely brilliant projects that never got seen except by like some executives that either were about to be fired or had just been hired. I had one where the network said, "Oh, we're changing. We're now going to be a true crime network. Your show doesn't fit anymore."
Uh-oh.
Several that were picked up, at least verbally, they were greenlit, and then something weird would happen. Never. I couldn't get traction, but I did make a lot of hilarious content. And so when Will Becton, who's sitting right over there, this is his podcast studio and all his idea, and his lovely wife, Amber Meyer Becton, I said, if you're doing a podcast of pilots, then I want to do it about my pilots and bring in some of the amazingly talented people that I had the joy of working with, which is better than money. But anyway, so this is Marc Evan Jackson.
Hello.
We had 2 pilots together. We're going to talk about them both. And Will Becton and I actually worked on one pilot together.
Yappy Broads.
Yappy Broads. And later on in the show, we'll be talking to Lauren Weedman, who I produced a pilot with called The Fifth Hour. So right now we're talking about None of Your Business, which Marc hosted. My business partner at the time, the brilliant, lovely, amazing, wonderful Sarah North, and I were hired by the head of Bloomberg Television, Andy Lack, to produce a satire of financial news.
They wanted a sort of a weekly version of a financial daily show, right?
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It had a lot of sort of quantifiers and modifiers. So it was called None of Your Business.
Mm-hmm.
We had some great people working on it. Janine DiTullio was
Right.
the head writer. She had worked with me on the Jon Stewart show and worked for Conan, where Will also worked. And then we had Eric Drysdale,
That's right.
who was on The Daily Show with me and would go on to work for Colbert.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Samantha Bee, just to make it incestuous.
I think that might have been, yeah. And Janine was fascinating because, in addition to being a comedy writer, had a distinct understanding of stocks and bonds and mutual funds and annuities and the markets.
Which none of us knew anything about. We did a very
Still don't.
We did a very fast learn on that one. Do you want to show a little clip and then we'll talk a bit about it?
All right, cool. So let's don some headphones.
Put on our headsets.
And
Wait. I have to change glasses.
This is its own show, by the way.
The next show will be the pilot called Double Cataract Surgery that didn't work. That'll be a good one.
I'm Marc Evan Jackson.
And I'm Shandy Fennessy, and this is None of Your Business for Monday, June 29th, 2009.
The major averages showed strong gains today. Market breadth was positive on the big board, but negative on the NASDAQ. Just end of quarter window dressing for the start of a summer rally. We'll break it all down coming up. Can you believe all this mumbo jumbo? It's so crazy. The big story for the financial community today, Bernie Madoff sentenced to 150 years in prison by Judge Denny Chin. Some of Madoff's victims spoke at the hearing, calling him a beast, a psychopath, an evil lowlife, and perhaps worst of all, poorly rendered in pastels.
I love that line.
Welcome back. I'm Shandy Fennessy. This is None of Your Business. Now let's go to our interpretive analyst, Gianni Napolitano from the School of Rock, who will be shredding the Dow for the year so far.
The Dow, for the record, was at 9,000.
9,000.
In 2009, it's at 43 today.
Rock and roll. Rock and roll Dow. That's how I like it.
Wow. The Bloomberg offices were where it was like an East 50-something.
59th and Lex.
59th and Lex. And it was this unbelievably huge office space. I've never really seen anything like it. And every floor had these giant monitors that were showing all the financial markets from everywhere around the world. And it also had the most incredible food. There were these stations where were like 10 different kinds of granola bars, and ice cream would come in, or it would be like pizza day. And they called it the Bloomberg 15 because everybody that worked there
was
ended
all
up
free.
Which just gave you something to do.
Despite being what could be thought of, I think, as a fairly stodgy, old world financial company, it had a real, Google feel in there. The sixth floor was a sort of a horseshoe, and on both sides of the atrium were free restaurant, convenience store, everything.
Everything. There's 10 kinds of coffee.
There were all these colorful Herman Miller steel-cased conversation pods and weird furniture for you to take a break.
Before Google had been invented.
I'm certain there was a ping pong table. It had that feel.
It had that feel.
But there was food up there. And in 2009, I was a fairly broke actor and I was like, I'm eating all of this.
Bloomberg doesn't make their money on any of their content.
Nope.
They make it all on this thing, which I don't know what they do now, but it's called the Bloomberg Monitor. And it's basically...
Terminal, yeah.
It's a terminal, and it's 4 screens, and it's de rigueur. I dropped in some French for you guys. For anyone in the financial world...
Yeah, can't buy it. You subscribe to it.
You subscribe to it.
And so it's endless.
And you rent it, and it's endless. And they kind of were ahead of the curve on that.
Probably true.
They had unbelievable security. When you entered the building, you had to be thumbprinted.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I smoked. And so I was going downstairs quite often, and I would literally say hi to the security guards, out, have my smoke, and then come in. They go, "We need to have your thumbprint." I go, "What do you think? It changed thumbs?"
You watched me the whole time.
You watched me the whole time.
Yeah.
So this one writer that we had named Eric Drysdale came up with this idea. It was Ivan the stock-picking tarantula.
That's right.
And we built a board that he went on that had all kinds of different options of stocks. And then we got a miniature Bloomberg Monitor. And I hired an insect wrangler that I knew from Letterman.
Sure.
Who worked at the Museum of Natural History.
Also did arachnids.
And what would happen was everyone would be there. The place would be hustling and bustling and money would be made. And it was all exciting. And then at 6 o'clock, everybody left. And then we had the run of the thing. We had
Yeah.
27 camera stations.
Oh, so that was in the Bloomberg.
It was in the
Oh, my
Bloomberg.
God.
Yeah, there were all these, like, literally 27 camera stations that you just had to flip a switch.
Yeah.
And a light would go on and you would be on camera.
It was sweet.
Wow.
The digs were fun to play in.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So we want to do this thing with Ivan the Stock picking tarantula, but I am worried that we're going to have trouble getting this tarantula into the building since I can't even get into the building.
Well, and I mean, so many thumbs.
So many thumbs. 8 thumbs.
It's a lot of thumbs.
Well, after 6 o'clock, didn't matter. The guy came, the insect wrangler, and had Ivan in a backpack, walked in, hey. They didn't even thumbprint him. Up he came.
Oh, wow.
And we shot Ivan the stock-picking tarantula.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my favorite bits ever.
Was Ivan accurate? Did he pick good stocks?
We don't know. We never really followed through. And Dustin didn't care because all that language that you heard that Mark called mumbo jumbo,
Yeah.
we were just cribbing. Like, we had no idea. We were comedy people.
Right. So much so that when word got out that we were there and we were doing it, slightly before 6 o'clock, when they would still be doing things, I remember being in the makeup chair one day that we were shooting, and one of the actual Bloomberg financial people came in and kind of, tech bro kind of guy. And he's like, so what's going on here? And I was like, oh, we're shooting a pilot for a sort of financial version of a weekly daily show kind of thing. And he's like, but like, what's your background in finance? I was like, oh, none. Like, we have writers. Like, I have none. Shandy has none. Like, we're not from this world. And he was like, I don't get it, though, because, like, I'm funny. And I was like, great. And he goes, for instance, earlier today, somebody said this and I said that.
Right.
And I was like, it's really hard to recount jokes like that. They never tell the same way in the retelling kind of thing. But they were overtly threatened by us being there because they thought somehow that we were going to take over their livelihood. It's like, you are so safe.
You are so safe.
I don't know anything that I'm reading.
Nothing.
Yeah, he was not the only one. There were several that were like, I don't get why they'd have to do a comedy version. We're funny all the time. Like,
right.
They were super threatened.
They're like the funny lawyer or the
guess.
world's funniest accountant.
Yeah.
My husband is the world's funniest architect, he believes.
Okay.
That's hard to verify or disprove.
Exactly.
100%. But if you have to tell someone you're funny, then
generally you probably are in the wrong competition.
That's for me to decide.
They also had some interesting decisions. So Julie Klausner, who's just hilarious, she's a New Yorker and she does like Joe's Pub all the time and she's had shows. And
She was a big UCB person back in the day.
She did one of the funniest. I just came up with this idea for her audition. And I said, you're going to be reading the financial news. And what's going to be happening is you're going to find out that your own portfolio is tanking. And that's all I said to her.
Live on air.
Live on air.
Yeah.
It's going to start slipping and then it's going to crash.
Yeah.
But you have to keep trying to keep a straight face. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And the president of Bloomberg, who was a really nice guy, and generally it was his idea to do this, but he said, she's just not hot enough.
Oof.
Ouch.
For financial news.
For financial news. And that's when we got the idea of bringing in Shandy Finnessy, who was a former Miss USA, who then I would recycle on Yappy Broads, but I also don't remember the chronology. The other decision they made that I thought was kind of interesting was Jenny Slate did a thing for us. We sent her out on a field piece, and they said, once again, not hot enough, and cut Jenny Slate.
Oh, man.
I know.
She wasn't as hot as I am or as Zach Woods. Zach Woods from The Office and from Silicon Valley.
Right.
Also did a very funny piece on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach did a great thing. I can't remember what it was. And
He had a really funny game to his character. It was meek.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, a lot of his characters are. That was great. Did he not make the final cut? Or
No, he did.
he did.
Oh, okay.
This is just a sizzle.
Oh, gotcha.
What happened, the game that amplified his meekness was that I'm playing a bit of a douchebag typecasting. And not only was he meek, but you gave me a button to push that launched a foghorn. So he's trying to go, okay, so it's been an up and down. I'm going, bah.
And then you start enjoying
Over and
the
over and over.
foghorn.
Yeah.
You're just like a petulant child. What was this bit, though? I don't remember.
I named it the Zach Attack, which was
The
not
Zach Attack.
what it was.
And he had to say it. This has been the Zach Attack. He was just...
He was a UCB guy, I think, at the time. Hadn't popped yet, hadn't done The Office, obviously. But I always love those moments on pilots like these where you're like, that guy's going places. Like
You knew it.
Oh, you meet him and you're like, this guy's really funny.
Eric Andre auditioned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they said no to him.
Oh, man.
He's not as hot as I am. He's not as hot as I am.
What was the writer's room like on that? Because those sound like great writers. Was there a writer's room for a week
there was
or
a writer.
something?
Eric Legend was on it.
Oh, that's right.
Who's,
Eric Legend, yeah.
I worked with at Current on Infomania. Another just one of the funniest people on planet Earth. Janine DeTullio, Eric Drysdale. It was very small.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about Janine DeTullio, which we were talking about, was her dad was a huge stock guy.
I remember stories she would tell about, like, when she was a little kid, they'd play games with pennies and stuff to, like, teach compound interest and concepts of, truly.
Wow.
Rather than look at the sports pages, they'd be looking at the markets each day going, okay, well, your mutual fund that you chose, I think from a very young age, she was doing sort of model UN kind of stock picking thing.
They had a basement that almost had a Bloomberg monitor, but I think it was just a computer, and she did this with her dad. And so I think there was a little piece about None of Your Business happening that got published somewhere. Janine reached out to me because she had been a writer on the Jon Stewart show, and we were friends, and she said, I have to work on this. Can I be the head writer?
Oh, fun.
And I was just like,
bingo.
Let me check with, yes.
Yeah. Give me some time to think, yes. Yeah.
We were so out of our element.
Yeah. In a very fun way. I remember actually once we were shooting something, and we were doing a second take of something. Janine had put something different in my prompter that I had never seen before. And so I'm looking in, I'm reading the first part, and then there are brand new words in the prompter. And I'm sitting there reading them going like, well, I haven't had time to preview these. And then I realized like, you didn't understand the first ones. Like, this couldn't matter less.
What does it really matter?
Right. Like, I didn't understand what I was reading when I had rehearsed it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Just read.
She was so great at getting that language just perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It was so believable.
I mean, it sounds like
a legitimate show,
yeah.
except then it goes a little bit bonkers.
With the S&P once again testing the 930 resistance level, we could possibly see follow through on the bullish golden cross.
One of my favorite
But
gags.
the light volume looks bearish.
Between takes, I said to a PA, I was like, would you run up to 6 and get me an ice cream sandwich? And you guys were like, why? I was like, you'll see.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I want to save it. Like, if you hate it, we won't do it. But I'm going to start eating an ice cream sandwich in a gross fashion while I'm still on the air. Yeah. And it was, so it's just those things of like, I don't know, let's try.
Let's play.
But another failure to break out here could set up a retest of the lows.
Totally. There's free ice cream up on 6.
We're still rolling.
Right. How about those green shoots? Huh?
But Shandy, I have to say, for not being a person from the comedy world,
Right.
She read well and her timing was
very
great,
fun.
and she
Yeah.
was very funny.
I remember her saying to me on one thing, because I come from a heavily improv world, and a few takes in, she was like, are you just not able to do that the same way twice? And I was like, no, I get bored. She's like, but you could though, right? And I was like, I don't think I could. No, that would not be interesting to me. I have to button it differently every time.
You guys had great energy.
She was fun, yeah.
And great chemistry, and you totally looked the part and like...
Well, the white cuffs and collars do a lot of the work.
Final thoughts on NYOB?
Sometimes you shoot a pilot and you're like, well, who knows? And this is one, I think, because the writing was so strong, the chemistry was good, you found people like Zach Woods that were destined for greatness. You've got a once-in-a-generation eye for talent. You've discovered a lot of people that are doing it for a living these days still.
Thank you.
Oh, it's true.
But as my dad would say, that and a nickel would get me on a streetcar.
There's that. But between that and the trappings of Bloomberg, I watched what you guys sent and I was like, oh, this is going to go. I remember saying to my wife, like, I might have to spend a bunch of the year in New York.
Yeah. I know, it was going.
Yeah.
That's the frustration of all of these.
Yeah.
That they all were so good. And I'm not tooting my own horn or fog-horning, but it really was the collaboration. And I believe, and I'm sure everyone in this room agrees, that for me, the best part of comedy is collaborating.
Yeah.
I've never been happier in my life than in those meetings and brainstorming sessions when we're coming up with these ideas and then you put them together and you watch them and they actually work.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, this is incredible. And so you feel this tremendous high, and then you have to, it's almost like it's the Handmaid's Tale or something, and you're pregnant and you give birth to this infant, and then it's just taken away from you.
Right.
when we were done and we had edited it together and delivered it, the man, who I just don't want to name, but hate to hurt myself and have my pilots not go forward.
Especially when you're just an up-and-comer.
He said, mission accomplished. Congratulations. It's perfect. You've done everything we asked you to do.
Yeah.
The execution is dead on tonally.
Yeah.
And then about a week or two later, he called again and we got on the phone again. He goes, guess what, ladies? I just can't do it.
Huh.
He had just gotten there and he said, it's just, I can't go out of the gate with this. And I'm like, you could have made that realization a couple of months ago before I brought all these people and we went to New York and
we spent a few weeks doing it.
Yeah.
I was in New York for a couple of weeks doing it. Yeah.
It was just an incredible experience. Yeah. And I hope you guys listening are enjoying it because no one ever got to see it except for us.
It's pretty good. It was one of the few that I thought was going to go.
I really did. So then I'm going to move on to the next pilot that Marc Evan Jackson and I did together. And it started out being called Ugly American. We were asked, Sarah and I, to produce a pilot for BBC America.
Sarah North, right?
Sarah North.
Sarah North, yeah.
But they wanted to do comedy on BBC America. Came up with this concept, which was called The Ugly American.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that it would be a travel show that would be a comedy show, and it would be just the worst American tourist.
Which is somewhat redundant.
now, completely. But in order to pilot it, we couldn't go to Europe.
Right.
So we found this town outside of LA. It's like 45 minutes outside of LA.
Artesia.
And it's called Artesia. And Artesia is 100% Indian.
Oh, yeah. People think of it as Little India, but it's like, I mean, it's India. It's
India. All the signs were in Indian. Every store, it's literally just a tiny little satellite of India. And we took Marc Evan Jackson there to learn about their culture.
That's so wild.
If you get this next word correct, we will declare you the champion.
Come on.
Cymotricus.
Cymotricus. CYMOTRICUS.
So smart. 4 years in a row. An Indian American kid wins this. What is going on? What gives Indian Americans such an intellectual edge? What in their culture produces such a high preponderance of smarty pantses? Is it the richness and vibrancy of their textiles? Their penchant for aromatic and super spicy foods? The convoluted plots and elaborate production numbers in their movie musicals? I think I found my journey.
Oh, the zip-on pants.
I love how this just keeps on going.
Mm-hmm. It's an A-team montage.
So basically, we took him through this journey. He got his eyebrows threaded.
Got my fortune told.
He went shopping and he got this whole offensive outfit of cultural appropriation.
Mm-hmm.
He got set up on a date with the matchmaker.
Here's the dancing.
The dancing, do a little dancing.
Oh, the dancing is embarrassing and very difficult.
He also has a sidekick. That's who he's meeting right now. But these are the shoes.
I kept those for a long time.
And no socks either.
Your funeral.
Your funeral.
When your right foot hits the floor, that's going to be your and beat. So it's going to be and 1 and 2.
You're adding up those numbers.
No,
1
I'm not adding
and 4
anything.
is 7.
I was dying.
1.
I was peeing.
And 2. And 3. Very good, Mark.
Right?
Very
Call
good.
this a light bulb set or light bulb hands because they're screwing a light bulb.
I get it.
Yeah.
I like knowing the light bulb hands thing.
Mm-hmm. And 4. There's no neck. There's no neck in this.
Not yet.
Well, I didn't say there was, so don't add me.
This is not acting. This was so hard.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
5, 6, 7, 8.
I just feel like I'm trying to learn your culture, and I felt I nailed it about 20 minutes ago.
Okay, we're good.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, I just remember being in the back of the dance studio and just laughing so hard I was going to die.
Sarah was crying.
Sarah was crying. I knew you were suffering, but at the same time, it was such good comedy suffering.
I want to make this clear. I was doing my best. Do you know what I mean? Like I was not
trying to be
no.
You were trying.
I
You
was
were
trying to
actually
nail
trying,
it.
yeah.
And it's so hard and like physical. That was me doing my very best to make that happen.
Just priceless. Oh God. Another one. And we had this fabulous production team working with us called the Butcher Birds.
Oh, that's
and they shot it. They built that blog. He had the travel bug. And the idea was each episode he'd go on this mission.
Right.
And at first it was going to be traveling abroad. And then by the end we called it Little America. And we felt like this is amazing. We can go to any sort of enclave and learn their culture.
So you kind of embraced that aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. The head of BBC America didn't get it. It wasn't his cup of tea.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, do you guys compare everything to tea?
They do, yeah.
Is this the date?
This is the date.
Oh,
You set me
here's
up on
the
a date. That's Sachin, my translator.
So, hi, this is Priya. And Priya, this is Mark with the C.
Very nice. Oh, yeah. Very nice to meet you.
आप बहुत खूबसूरत लग रही हैं.
Oh, this is amazing. He's translating.
She says thank you.
Okay.
We made some good hay out of this translation.
Oh, no. No. I did not mean...
Please take off your clothes.
Leave your clothes on, please.
Leave your clothes on.
You don't call it a task?
इसको तो 2 ग्लास लगेंगे.
Spicy food.
Oh, this was real.
She's saying you might need more water.
The food was delicious, too.
Very good. Since this time, my wife and I have gone back to this restaurant a handful of times.
All vegetarian.
Primji, was that his name?
I think so.
That owned it?
I feel I should let you know on Sunday, October 16th, 2016, I am set to start an affair.
That's because he went to the psychic.
I went to the astrologist.
It's going to get really spicy now.
Are you okay?
I'm just loving all the flavors.
It's very good. It's authentically hot.
She's asking, are you okay?
This foreshadows hot ones.
It does, yeah.
You're sweating. Oh, here we go.
Oh, you took me on a little bit of a trip here.
Yeah, well, you have your trip, and he realizes that the peppers make them smart.
Oh, you ate that whole thing.
It gets super psychedelic.
Bollywood and acid trip is a good marriage.
Yeah, that's a whole genre right there.
There we go to the spelling bee. He's got it.
Flexinocinehilipilification. FLOCCINAUC.
Oh, man, she's a deadpan master.
Yeah, she was really good.
PILIFICATION. Flexinocinehilipilification.
And now they dance. The whole thing turns into a Bollywood dance.
Pretty goofy.
Oh, Mark.
It's funny. It's, we were trying to thread a needle a little bit, I think, of trying to have me be a very fanny-packy American tourist, dullard, like nincompoop, but also not being like racially insensitive and stuff.
No, you were curious.
Yeah.
You were curious, and you really were on a mission, and the mission was to explore their culture and figure out why they were so smart.
Yeah.
Which is just silly, but it's hilarious. And I'm remembering, like, oh, God, I'm having almost like laugh memory.
Yeah.
It's like
an olfactory kind of.
Yeah, it's like a real olfactory thing. It's coming back to me. I'm there. I can smell it. I can taste it.
I'm having the same. My mission in that date was like, I'm going to try to have a first date, and I'm going to try not to let the spice get in my way. So I can remember, like, things that didn't make this cut were like, I am unable to breathe.
Yeah.
The sweat from my brow is hurting my eyes, and I'm going, so do you have any brothers or sisters? like just trying to like have a normal day to be like, did you play any sports growing up? Like, and I was in physical pain. Like it was,
and it was real, which is funny. Yeah. And the dancing was painful.
Yeah.
The psychic was hilarious too, because he tells you that you're going to have an affair in like
2016, in about 5 years, I think.
5 years, yeah.
That was such an organic moment. Like he's typing and he gets a little wry grin, and I like, that's not me acting. That's me going, why are you smiling? And he's like, and I was like, why are you smiling? And he goes, there are affairs coming up. I had lied about, like, I didn't want to give my whole soul to the gods. So I think I had lied about I gave him my birth date, but 1 year off of my star chart. So he didn't have actual information. So
your wife is happy about that.
Well, I mean, I just wonder when these affairs are going to start.
What I will say is, and this isn't about tooting my own horn, Will did invite me here, but I really put together the Daily Show field department. And so that was Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert and
Stuart Bailey.
And Stuart Bailey was running the whole thing. And it was just amazing. And it was the same as this. It was what Carell had said about it was that it's like doing improv, doing a game with an unsuspecting accomplice who doesn't know the game isn't in the game.
Right.
And that's what the whole field department was. Like you would have a thing in your head. And I feel like that's what we did with the whole
100%.
city of Artesia.
Yeah.
We went there to make comedy and they were making it with us. And so it wasn't mean though, because nobody got hurt except you with the spices.
Well, the joke's on Mark, right? Is it?
Yeah, the joke, you always have the joke on you.
I think one of the very few things we told to everybody that we interacted with was like, Mark's an idiot.
Yeah.
Please be yourself. Like.
Yeah. All I can say is that I just had so much fun re-watching both of these.
That was really fun.
Like insanely entertaining. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to give a quick plug for Artesia, California. If you find yourself in Southern California, it is an immersive and wonderful experience, and you should go check it out.
Be careful of the peppers. We'll be right back with Lauren Weedman, and we're going to be talking The Fifth Hour.
3, 2, 1.
Hi. Welcome back to Pilot Lounge. We just had an amazing time with Marc Evan Jackson, and now Lauren Weedman is here. Yay!
Yay!
Lauren is hilarious.
Inconsistent.
No, I don't think you're inconsistent at all. I think you're sheer genius. And I hired Lauren Weedman to be a correspondent on The Daily Show because I met her through Will Becton. It's all coming around.
Yeah, and Josh Gilbert and I collaborated on her audition tape up in Woodstock.
Right. I had a house in Woodstock, and I met Josh Gilbert and then met Will. And Will said, I think I have a correspondent for you. Showed me the tape, and I hired Lauren Weedman to be a correspondent on The Daily Show. And how'd that go?
It was life-changing. Thank you, Madeleine. And I meant to bring you some kind of box of goodies. So thank you, like some crackers, whatever. But no, it was...
Love crackers.
It was great. I mean, but also, it was great.
It was great.
Yeah, it was great. You're nodding it. It was great, Lauren. It was great.
No, it was great.
It was great. Yes, it changed my life.
It was great. And then you wrote about it in a book, and I went to a reading, and I was sitting in the front row.
Were you front row?
I was front row.
That's a mistake right there.
And it was...
Yeah. It was off-putting.
A little uncomfortable just because you were talking about me and everything in the book. I think that the episode that I remember of it was, so I worked for David Letterman, worked on The Daily Show, John came on, whatever. There's this thing of these late-night comedy talk show hosts that after the show, they don't want to see anybody. And on Letterman, there was actually a person whose job it was to clear the halls so Dave could walk through and no one would make eye contact.
Yay.
And John wanted to just go into his office in the makeup room, his like dressing room, and debrief with like 2 people. But I don't think that I told you that.
You think it's your fault that I had no boundaries about trying to come up to you? Talk about when I went in there to ask for
Yeah. It was
like,
such a great moment.
Yeah.
Because Lauren just wanted feedback on her bit. I think it wasn't a field piece.
I like how you're telling it so much more positive, as if I was like, all I wanted was some feedback on how I just did. It was so much more fucked up. It was that people kept telling me that like his makeup person, Jody, she was like, there's something about you that is, John doesn't know that you're kidding. Like your humor is so dry or something. He's not getting it. And she goes, I think you just have to go up to him and just say like, John, like, are we good? Or let him know, like, I don't mean it that way. Maybe you're taking me the wrong way. Like, let him know who you are.
And
more.
I think the perfect time to do it is right after the show.
It was even worse. It was right before. So he was prepping.
He was in the prepping.
He was prepping. And I walked, and I was so, and I remember, anyway, I don't even, like, it was so awful. I basically just walked in the door and was like, fire me, is what I basically said. Because it was so down. The only thing I won't go into the whole thing, but one of my favorite moments is when I asked to talk to him, and he's in there with the director and the writers, and they're all getting ready to get the show, like a live show. Yeah, and I was like, hey, John, can I talk to you for a second? And he goes, out there? And I was like, and I remember thinking like, go ahead and just say yes, Lauren. Like I was trying to be like, yes. I go, yes, out here, come out to the hallway. And he starts to get up. And then he like hovers for a moment. And then he's like, boom, falls back in the chair. And he goes, actually, no, Lauren, what do you want? And so then I tried to have a heart-to-heart with him in front of all the people there. It was so
awkward.
So misguided.
It was so misguided. But it was so wonderful in its way because it was a scene from a show about a person on a show, like that meta way.
Yes.
Because everybody was thinking, is she really doing this? Like,
oh, I know Chuck. The director's named Chuck, I think, right? And I remember his face. He was just like, no, Lauren, no, because I feel like he liked me and he was trying to help me. Everyone was always trying to help me. They're all like, Lauren, stop touching his arm so much. Or like, Lauren, stop making that joke.
To be touched.
Yeah, Lauren, no, he doesn't know that you want to be here. Like, you haven't shown much, but don't tell him that somebody said to you, you're not showing enthusiasm.
I wish we'd had a camera because it was just really this absolutely uncomfortable.
Whack-a-doodle.
In my mind, I remembered it as after the show, but you were saying it was before.
Worse. It was before.
It was even worse. That's even worse. Then you wouldn't even go near them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just sort of like they're in their head and they're getting ready. They're working.
Yeah,
and
that's something I never
they want to do. Yeah. But the good news is that
I'm here.
You and I remained friends.
Right.
And when you wrote your book, that scene was in there, so that was really good.
Yeah.
And then what's even better is we did this incredible pilot together called The Fifth Hour, which is what we're talking about here. But was that before or after Yappy Broads, Will? We also brought you into audition for Yappy Broads, and you did one of the best auditions I've ever seen.
But I didn't get the part.
But weren't you one of our final picks, Lauren, before Adult Swim replaced
she totally was. But they wanted the guys they wanted, and they wanted them to be guys in drag.
So we saw an unbelievable clown car of people for Yappy Broads, which is an Adult Swim pilot. It was live action, The View, Men in Drag was the setup, basically, right?
And
I was the top pick of that? Yeah. Oh, and one female.
And one female, who ended up being Shandy Fennessy, who was also in None of Your Business.
Adult Swim just basically swapped out the cast at the last minute.
Yeah, and just put in everybody that they had wanted to do before we had done any casting. But for the casting, we set up this really funny, because it was kind of like, it was The View. It was a daytime talk show. We wanted people up off their feet and kind of like doing something. So we got a bunch of cupcakes and we got all this icing, and we had everybody do their auditions as they were decorating cupcakes. And you were hilarious.
Well, cupcakes and me are always like, that's my thing.
Cupcakes.
Oh, classic.
You were right.
How did I come up with that? There's so many things you could do with a cupcake, and I thought of eating it. That's where my head goes.
I remember you cleaning the knife of like frosting, and there was like a big mountain of frosting because you had icing.
I don't understand why I didn't
you.
get the part. And after watching The Fifth Hour today, I'm like, I was unhinged.
You were unhinged in such a wonderful way. And I will say about The Fifth Hour, taped it in a studio out in Glendale. It was called, ironically, the Glendale Studios.
Oh.
And it took about like 3 or 4 hours, and everybody that came stayed the entire time. And every single person said to me, that is the funniest thing I have ever seen in my life. And you were unhinged, but Molly was a great straight person.
Yes, she was.
Yeah,
yes,
and we had Ron Lynch was there.
Love Ron Lynch.
Nickelodeon decided that they wanted to do kind of what Adult Swim was to Cartoon Network, that they wanted to build a block at night, but it was for moms, because moms were watching Nickelodeon all day with their kids.
Right.
So at night, it would be called Nick Mom, and there was a Nick Mom executive there for the taping who only thing she could say was, I need more mommy.
Oh, I don't even like the word mom. I don't like stuff that ends, I shouldn't
With
say
a Y?
Yeah, I don't.
Yes,
It's immediately off-putting.
It's off-putting.
And in fact, when I started to watch, I was like, I can't believe I was ever a part of something where they said the word mommy so much. And I noticed that
mommy sounds like she's a murderer.
Yeah, it just always sounds so like, ma'am, I don't like it. It sounds weak.
Yeah.
I guess you're supposed to.
Well, I guess the Y is diminutive so that it does make it makes it a little smaller.
Mommy.
Oh, and once again, I want to mention that they called me and wanted me to develop something for them.
You're very powerful.
Well, look where it's gotten me.
This was not just like unsolicited mad going off on a tangent. You were asked to make this thing.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we were asked to make a pilot for Nick Mom. I just said, hey, what if we just do like the Today Show? It's like a fictional local version, and it's been on for 4 hours, and this is the 5th hour.
Right.
So these people have been there now for 4 hours. They're punch drunk. We'll satirize, sort of women's television and daytime television. And then we'll bring real guests on. So we populated it with actual guests. It was like the guys. I used to do human interest for Letterman, and I would bring people that were doing what they were doing and had no idea that there's anything funny about it. And I'd bring them, put them with Dave, and hilarity would ensue. And one of them was actually on our show, and her name was Raquette.
She's amazing.
Raquette.
Yeah.
And we did a facial that you could do out of your refrigerator.
Yeah.
And your line was, finally, a facial you can do with your child. And we brought in this guy that did balloon animals.
Yes.
That's I want to show that. We're going to show some. Let's show the beginning and show a little bit of stuff. I'm going to put my headset on.
I've been waiting for this moment.
Good mid-morning, ladies. Close the drapes, open the wine. It's time for the 5th hour with your hosts, Lauren Weedman and Molly Erdman.
Hello, everybody. We have got a great show for you today.
Get it next time.
Good morning to our licensed ferritorologist, Phil Panics.
Should you be concerned about your child's rash? If you live in the Rust Belt, yes.
Okay, we always look forward to that. Thanks, Phil.
I have kind of big news that I'm excited about. Leo, my 2-year-old, has chosen his gender.
No way.
Yes. He wants to be, and I didn't want to push him, but he wants to be a boy. And I was
Good
like,
for
fine,
him.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. I just don't want to do the thing where I say, oh, this is who you're, like, we don't want to give him his name. We wanted him to say, what his name was to us.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I want to be, oh, this is who you are, or like, you have to wear shoes. You know what I mean? Like, I want him to come to me and say, I need to wear shoes. I have a medical situation or something. For a long time, his name was.
Right.
Yeah.
Clap, clap, the first sounds he made. Yeah. This is very exciting. Now, yesterday, as you know, we had the wine rack, which is a sports bra that you can drink wine out of.
When I'm doing story time with Leo, I always have the wine on the floor by the, and I'm always like leaning down and then up, and I'm always like, hold on, they're in the woods, still in the woods, okay, we're going on a bear hunt, up and down. And this way I could just be like, they're going on a bear hunt. Do you remember, I'll admit it now, do you remember when I had the eye patch?
Yeah.
Diaper accident,
kidding.
right in that, yeah.
We are here with our own resident pediatrician to the stars.
This is my
and author of this
pediatrician.
wonderful
Oh,
book,
really?
Eat, Sleep, Poop. Our first question comes from Twitter. What color should my baby's poop be? Hashtag poop probs.
Well, I do get a lot of poop questions. I get questions about smelling poop, what poop smells like. I had one parent call me and ask me what poop should taste like, but that was his own issue.
He's all at the dinner table, this tastes wrong.
Can you give us some alternate names that parents can use for their kids' private parts?
Well, I always recommend calling them what they are.
Oh, God.
A penis and a vagina.
I like to call it whoever visited last, whoever relative they just saw, I like to call it that. Just call it like Aunt Lola. That's your Aunt Lola.
Region.
Or I like to call it, what's that? Don't touch her, what's that?
Yeah. Or just sound effects like aruga.
Yeah, that's aruga. Yeah,
Just name it after IKEA furniture.
That was scary.
Oh, my God.
That was nauseatingly
Okay, well, pull it
freaky.
together.
So much freedom I had on that.
Well, that was the whole thing. The whole thing was just set up to have you knock it down, and you were amazing. That was pure comedy.
Right.
It wasn't about like, oh, we're commenting on society and politics. That was just in the moment. You could watch your mind working. I did it for you. That's why I brought the balloon guy.
Oh my God, that reminds me of that scene in The Omen. This is for you, Damien. Yeah, no, I felt like you were setting up this, but then when I was watching it back, because I remember feeling like, finally, giving me an arena where I don't have to hold back. I can be like, I can go and I can run. And it was so perfect.
It was great.
But then when I watch it back, I was like, for God's sakes, Lauren, like.
No.
That was your job, though,
So
right?
what you have to know about Lauren Weedman, too, is that she does one-woman shows, and they're absolutely amazing.
Life-changing.
They're incredible, and they're hilarious. And since I live in Seattle, this is a good part of Seattle, Lauren likes to go there and kind of put them on their feet. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's a good place to go do shows. Yeah, to start
and
shows
so
out.
I always
workshop.
Go, and I see them being workshopped. And what those shows show me are that you are, and I'm not lying.
I hope not.
And I'm not exaggerating. You are one of the most gifted, spontaneous performers that I've ever known. And I've known a shit ton.
That's nice.
There are no guardrails.
I think one of the things that's great about it is the dynamic between the two hosts.
Yes, she was a great straight woman, but she wasn't 100% straight either.
Yeah, she's not like a boring straight woman.
Molly kept it going. Molly was able to do the intros and stay with the interview. The one thing that I do remember is Scott Cohen, who was my son's pediatrician, had written this book about poop, and I thought it would be perfect. And what I told you before you went into that interview is every time he says poop, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
And I think you lived up to the promise.
My God.
I've never seen you this disruptive.
These balloons took me 22 hours to make.
Sorry, I got to.
Is that a real knife?
Yeah, I mean, sorry. I love it. I love it. This is perfect. I want 7 delivered to the following address.
You gave me permission. It's not my fault.
Absolutely hilarious. It was such a clear format, right? It's a morning show. We're doing the weather. We're talking about.
But why
the thing.
didn't it go then? Well, I thought it was like that I was too obnoxious. I thought they were like.
I remember I was in New York and I was launching a late night talk show for BET, which was called Don't Sleep. But anyway, I'm there and we're about to launch, and I get the call from the executive from Nick Mom, which, by the way, does not exist.
That was my next question.
Yeah, it maybe was on for like 2 months. We took a look at it and we just didn't quite know what was going on, and
fair,
and quite frankly, neither did I. Like, why did you have to say that? Like, that's such a mean thing to say.
Yeah, people are mean.
She already had the out, and then she went ahead and just said,
she
"Me too."
gilded the lily.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like she's got her medication just right.
Just right. Part of the problem is that the system is flawed. And now I'm going to get to the sort of premise for this show. So, Lizz Winstead and I created The Daily Show. I ran it for the first 7 years. And I was recruited by Doug Herzog at Comedy Central to create a daily show for him. He said, I'm going to give The Daily Show 90% of my production budget and 95% of my promotion budget. And then he said the magic words, which are very pertinent right now. He said, you don't have to do a pilot, and I'll give you a year on the air to figure out what it is.
What?
Yeah.
Is this a dream you had?
No, it happened to me. And that's where the process of creating The Daily Show happened. And the fucking thing
here we go. Keep it
still
real.
on the air. Like, it's never been more relevant. And when I watch it, I was really excited when Jon came back because I was like, okay, good. Like,
let's see what it looks like, right? Let's check out how.
How
let's go into his office and ask him how.
We ask him right before the show. How are you feeling? No, but it's like the format literally has not changed since I left in 2002. The whole point is that unless the network and the executive are all committed to staying at their jobs and not moving and not changing what the network is, and they're all comfortable in their jobs and are involved in your process and committed to you, I don't see that piloting really is a great experience.
Well, there's an excitement while you're doing it.
Oh my God! And you come up with the great stuff
because everything's new, and you're picking your team and all that.
Oh, and they've all been all of these. I loved every single one of them. I mean, the truth is, I love working with really talented people, and that's why comedy has been so great. And watching this, I'm just like, nobody knew where you were going, and there was.
I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yes,
Don't you worry.
But there was a danger there.
Yes, yes.
There
always.
was a danger. There really were no rails. You could have fallen off the stage.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
And they stopped, even for me at least, they stopped ordering pilots. And what they started ordering instead was something called a proof of concept, which is a pilot with no budget. So you'd be producing a show. Let's say that show was going to cost $500,000. I'll make that up. And instead of giving you $500,000 so that you're apples to apples, they would give you $20,000. And then Sarah North, my business partner at the time, and I would just go out and like call in every favor of every person we'd ever known and try to cobble something together.
With the expectations of making something that looks like it costs $500,000.
And I don't think any of them went forward. And
how many pilots have you done?
Oh God, so many
97.
pilots, proof of concepts. I can't even count. I don't know. But I lost my house.
Because of the because of a pilot?
Because of just of putting all the money into the proof of concepts and all the energy.
I live in a rent-controlled apartment. There's no sun.
Remember my pool? You came over.
Yes, I get it. You've had that's the up and down. I mean, only Elvis got to go out with no changes, really. Like life is it is. Not to be like, hey, Madeleine, that's how it is.
No,
that's the biz, baby.
No, I know it's the biz.
Oh God, so this is this kind of podcast. Okay.
Well, I mean, I worked at, Conan, and when I started at Conan, it was right after the Tonight Show debacle, where
he got screwed.
And that was Conan. They only gave him like 7 months and then pulled the plug after he had that track record behind him. And so it's like nobody's safe, basically.
Nobody's safe. No, they're not. And I want to thank you, Will, because what you have done by offering me this opportunity is to restore the value to the work that I did do, and to see you and Marc Evan Jackson and relive those moments of pure comedy that nobody's seen.
I mean, obviously, if given the choice, you'd want to see all those shows go. But one of the interesting things about pilots is it's like a little club, because you guys know what the experience was. Correct. And know what the show was.
I was in a blackout. I don't.
And not that many other people do,
But it's also, they're filled with hope. Like every pilot is just you putting your absolute best out there, trying to make it, as good as it possibly can be. And it's kind of like a theater thing almost. Like, I'm putting on a show.
And not as like, I've gotten so cynical about stuff, because I'm always like, we're going to love it. It'll be dead by noon. Like, it's like, because or just realizing that's the nature of it. Yeah. Where it's like, who knows what's going to happen.
Don't name a goldfish. Like
right.
Rookie
Right.
Oh, don't name a child.
True. That is so like pilots. When I watched that this morning, I had a burst of like remembering the hope,
the hope,
of freedom,
making something new.
Yes, and thinking like, if I go out there and I am fully my most creative, be present, whatever happens, like I am here to play, and there's nobody who's gonna. Normally, it's like on the deal, like I'm in somebody else's rules and world,
I let you
and
free.
I didn't. Yes, you did, and I thought I'm sure there's some moments there. It's like, okay, Lauren, reel it in.
Never.
Like, oh God, remember when you were when I would go in that full on, and now I think I definitely would. Want to keep more dignity, I guess.
No, but I think there's an electricity, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Do they ever take pilots from way back and do them? Has there ever been like somebody seeing something that happened from?
No, but I will say I did a pilot with Roseanne, and this was for TV Land.
Oh, yeah.
That was also part of Nickelodeon, and Keith Cox, who had been my executive in Steve Harvey's Big Time, was there and brought me on to do this pilot with Roseanne. And it was based on an Australian format called Talking About My Generation. And I immediately was like, this should be called Generation Gap. And it just got made. It got made like 6 months ago with a different network, a different host. But they used my name.
They did?
So Roseanne was the host, and we ended up shooting it. She owns a studio out near the airport.
That's perfect. I love that.
Near LAX. I can't think of the name of the
Well, that's enough,
town.
I think. Just like,
But
she's got a
anyway.
studio by the airport.
And Melissa Peterman, who's also really funny. So he was doing a bunch of pilots, the executive, Keith Cox. This was one of them. We had a team of writers. We were out there in the place near the airport where we're all staying in hotels.
I love that.
We were all staying in hotels. You'd have to stop every time a plane went by, which was like literally every 30
time a plane
seconds.
went by, you're at LAX.
That's my point. But we had such fun things. We had like candy of different generations and all
I've
these.
never seen that done. I love that.
Yeah, it was great.
Candy of different generations?
Yeah, so the older people remember the candy cigarettes and candy lipstick and the little ones, and now they've got like crazy nerds and all this stuff. Anyway, we did a lot of stuff. Melissa Peterman was hilarious. Roseanne was fine, and she loved me, and she's like, you're going to come to Hawaii, and we're going to hang out. But anyway, we were shooting the next morning at 10 a.m. We got notes the night before at 8 p.m. We had to rewrite the scripts. They were up till probably 5 the next morning. And now Roseanne was thrown. Her script was different. She learned the other one.
Oh, God.
It just became a fiasco, and then he ended up passing. He goes, we just didn't like her.
Oh, I thought he died.
Oh, they said passing as well. It's like he passed.
He passed.
Yeah, and I was like, well, that's kind of a blessing, isn't
But he
it?
left behind notes.
When he passed on the pilot, he said, yeah, could she have dressed up a little?
Oh, God.
Why couldn't she wear like a pair of heels? What were those shoes? And I was just like, first of all, you gave me Roseanne. Like, I didn't choose her, cast her, hire her.
Could she be softer?
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
not, you get
And
what
it never aired. And guess what? I never went to Hawaii.
What?
With Roseanne.
She probably just forgot.
It's fine. She's
Yeah.
crazy.
She's super busy right now talking to coconuts and such. Yeah. Who were there executives on this one?
On yours, yes. It was the woman that told me that her team really didn't get it, and frankly, neither did she. And then
right. That's
and then
right.
there
Sorry,
was
I was
the
there
woman,
20 minutes ago.
There was the more mommy woman. I need more mommy.
Oh, stop.
But as I watched it, and I'm watching all of these, quite honestly, I feel really happy because I feel like it's this just like little comedy gems that are out there, and they make me remember that the process was so much fun.
Yes.
Until that was ruined by jerks. But that's life. Is that life too,
Is
Lauren?
it cathartic or is it PTSD or both?
It's a little bit of both. I would say it's a yin-yang cathartic PTSD situation because, but the catharsis is much stronger because the PTSD I carry with me, it's my bitterness.
Sure.
But now I look at it and I go, you know what? It's their loss. This was all hilarious stuff with unbelievably talented
And you were
people.
having fun as you were doing
And I
it,
had
right?
so much fun.
Yeah.
I had so much fun. It was there's nothing more fun to me than creating the funny with the funny people. And so thank you, Will, for putting me in a situation where I get to relive my past and Lauren's.
In my past?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're not reliving my past.
We'll pick our moments. But yeah, when I think of, like you were saying earlier, the feeling of let's put on a show.
Yes.
You're definitely one of the first people I think of when I just think about that concept, like the excitement of getting a team together and putting on a show.
I just love it. Everyone who comes on brings something to it. When you find the moments of the funny like that, and The Daily Show, I was actually on the Jon Stewart show. When we would hit on something really hilarious, we had a dance. We would all do John would do the Cabbage Patch, and we would celebrate the funny because that's what we all live for.
It's funny, I never saw him do that dance with me. I didn't know that was a thing.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Marc Evan Jackson. Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
And thank you in absentia, Sarah North and the Butcher Birds.
Oh, are we already done?
I think so.
You guys, I drove like 40 minutes.
You're on the other side of the 405.
I think the way back you'll be better.
Lauren, do you have any final thoughts? Or
I had a really good time. Thank you for the freedom. There. That's it.
Well, that about wraps it up for us here on the 5th hour.
Also, we have one word that will change your life, and that word is...
What? And that show didn't go?
All right. Pilot Lounge, everybody.
So cool to have Madeleine here because she lives in Seattle, so we don't get to see her as often as we want to see her.
Yeah.
She is just this source of energy and enthusiasm. Everything that she does is enthusiastic and fun and cool. And clearly through those stories, she finds talent. She supports talent. She encourages talent. Even with Lauren Weedman, when Lauren Weedman's like, I was going too crazy, I was going too far. And she's like, no, that was the best part.
Yeah.
She brought that out of her.
Yeah, Madeleine is definitely one of a kind. And I feel like there's a loose affiliation of Madeleine people scattered around the world. And if you meet a fellow Madeleine person, it's always nice because there's nobody like her, Like every day, Madeleine wakes up and she's Madeleine.
So authentic.
Yeah.
The reason why she has discovered so much talent is because she allowed that talent to grow into its fruition.
She's not threatened by talent. She's somebody that wants to play tennis with people that are better than you, that kind of attitude.
Well, and I think in your interview with her on Life and Comedy, she is talking about how was it Stephen Colbert, that they were like, oh, this isn't working, this isn't working.
Colbert was kind of an immediate hit
Yeah.
among the staff, and Carell was the one that needed some time to find his footing, which
And
is
she was like,
insane
no,
to
we need to
think of, but
give him a second, give
Yeah.
him a moment to find his footing. And I think that's who she is, because she can hold some space. That's a saying now.
hold some space
I can hold some space for you.
if you give them grace.
And gratitude.
And another one. Now, I hear grace. People use grace instead of just like saying like, hey, can you pause for 2 seconds? They're like, let's give this moment some grace. Have you heard that?
No, that's so weird. I know let's call grace for postponed lunches on sets, but no, let's give it some grace. That's very bizarre.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for checking out the 3rd episode of Jett Road Studios Presents. A couple more things I wanted to be sure we mentioned. Madeleine's Instagram handle is @MadInTheKitch, which is short for Mad in the Kitchen, a really great YouTube cooking show she started during the pandemic. Lauren Weedman's book that Madeleine referred to is called A Woman Trapped in a Woman's Body, Tales from a Life of Cringe. And I'm happy to discover Butcher Bird Studios. That was the production company Madeleine teamed up with on both Little America and The Fifth Hour. Madeleine speaks very highly of them, and from their website, it looks like they do cool stuff. And I just realized why the Phil Panic's character from The Fifth Hour looks so familiar. The actor is the very funny Phil Morris, who played defense attorney Jackie Childs on Seinfeld. And Sarah North was supposed to be here for the taping, but she couldn't make it. So, hi, Sarah.
If you can please rate and review the show, that would be much appreciated. You can also find us on Instagram, YouTube, or JettRoadStudios.com, where you can sign up for the mailing list.
Thanks for listening.
Jett Road Studios, where it's always pilot season.